But I guess, of course, the big news continues to come from Iraq. Few men in history have racked up a more horrific record of human rights abuses than Iraqi dictator and filthy hippie Saddam Hussein. But who should hold him in judgment? On Monday, President Bush argued for the tyrant to be tried by his countrymen in a process the world would respect.
We will work with the Iraqis to develop a way to try him that will stand international scrutiny, I guess is the best way to put it.
You know, he can't even say international scrutiny without getting nauseous. And of course he went on, and I'm sure we'll make everything in accord with human rights and follow the rule of law. And actually, Bush made it clear that he was not out for vigilante justice.
I've got my own personal views of how he ought to be treated, but I'm not an Iraqi citizen.
He added, look, I'm just the guy who invaded the country and destroyed their army and had Saddam arrested at gunpoint. You know, it's not my call. But still, Bush couldn't help but editorialize a little bit during the news conference.
I mean, he's a deceiver, he's a liar, he's a torturer, he's a murderer.
Bush went on to note that Hussein was also a picker, a grinner, a lover, and a sinner, who so far has been somewhat unresponsive to questions regarding the pompous of love. Can I end on a joke that doesn't make any sense? I think I can. But the question, actually, of who will oversee the trial of Saddam Hussein is just one of dozens of issues raised by this unprecedented situation. To explore a few others, we're joined by senior trial analyst and host of The Daily Show's Legal Affairs program, Objection Sustained, Stephen Colbert. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us. Nice to see you. What an interesting situation we find ourselves in. First of all, am I right in calling this situation unprecedented?
Yes, John, although that does constitute analysis, which I wish you'd leave to me. Think of it, John. Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, Darth Vader, none of these great villains from history have ever stood trial for their crimes. Saddam's defense team will face a monumentally difficult task, so I think what Alan Dershowitz will need to do is introduce the concept...
I'm sorry. Alan Dershowitz is going to represent Saddam Hussein?
Well, it's safe to assume, John. I mean, there are very few lawyers that can represent someone this famous. Mark Garrigus has his plate full with Scott Peterson and Jacko. Johnny Cochran's now out of the law. I believe he has a cooking show. Gloria Allred volunteered to do it, but apparently Saddam feels she would actually make him less sympathetic. So that leaves Dershowitz, whom I believe will plead a case based largely on self-defense.
Self-defense?
Yes, sir.
Stephen, Saddam Hussein was responsible for the deaths of 400,000 people.
Who snuck up on him, John? He was startled.
For 35 years.
Look, I'm not saying it's a watertight defense here, John, but they do have another concept that they might introduce.
Fine.
That is entrapment. The idea that Saddam was illegally enticed into tyranny.
Now, how would that work, Stephen?
Oh, come on, John. You're telling me that if you saw a prisoner's testicles taped to a bare plank right next to electrodes, the perfect size for sizzling them, you wouldn't stick them on and flip on the juice?
No, I don't think I would.
Well, you're a better man than I. Now, I'm also told the defense team is already hard at work on acquittal catchphrases. For instance, if the graves aren't mass, you must quit. It rhymes in Arabic, John. But listen, the main issue of this case will be the venue. They've got to get the trial moved.
But I would imagine it would have to be somewhere in Iraq.
No way, John. The jury pool there is tainted. He's not going to get a fair trial. He's also hated here in America. Asia can't stand him. Hasn't earned himself any friends in Western Europe. No, I believe Saddam has the best chance for a fair trial here, on the Ross Ice Shelf. It's a massive glacial plateau floating over the frozen Antarctic Sea. It's very remote and inhabited only by penguins, most of whom are relatively neutral on Saddam's massacre of the Kurds, or indeed on any issue not related to herring.
Now again, Stephen, and I am no legal expert, but that idea strikes me as bull.
Bull, John, or bull truth? That'll be for a jury of 12 penguins to decide. But in all honesty, I can't see this guy getting anything less than 15 years and a substantial fine. But hey, I thought O.J. was guilty, so what do I know?
Thank you so much for the insight,
you,
Stephen. Stephen Colbert. We'll be right back after this.